מודים אנחנו לך שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו לעולם ועד. מודים אנחנו לך צור חיינו מגן ישנו אתה הוא לדור ודור. מודים אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. For the sun that rises in the east, for the seas that roar a prayer, for the stillness of a snowfall, for a breath of autumn air, for the grasp within my fingers, for a mind that makes me whole, for the voice that God has given me to speak the truth within my soul. Modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. ועל ניסך שבכל יום עמנו, שבכל יום עמנו. ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך ערב ובוקר וצהריים. For the laughter of the children, for the way they greet the day, with their endless stream of questions, they remind us how to play. And for the ones we call beloved, who take away our fear, they tell us without saying it, remember I am here, remember I am here. Modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך, modim אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. צור חיינו מגן ישנו אתה הוא לדור ודור. מודים אנחנו לך לעולם ועד. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם.
ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
And on the 7th day, God ceased from work and was renewed. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית עולם. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol leit ubechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Yael, 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 הקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה עליינו ואמרו, והמליכו ואמרו, ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Save us for the sake of your name, shield us from hatred, sorrow and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la. All right, Shabbat Shalom. 1, 2, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've been praying these prayers for so long, singing the same old songs. I know every word of this book like the back of my hand. So I left my home in LA, came down to Music City with just the guitar in my back. There'll be a load of Shabbos whining on the road to my horizon, but I'm gonna be where the Ner Tamid's shining on me like a rhinestone cancer, riding out in a tallis and a star-spangled yarmulke, like a rhinestone cancer, getting lox and bagels from people I don't even know, and some complaints over the phone. Don't mind the rain or the laughter of the children playing, the sounds of mahjong, sports trivia, or schmooze and views. And I dream of the things we'll do if we put our heads together. We know that we can lose. Sing it with me now. There's been a load of Shabbos whining on the road to my horizon, but I'm gonna be where the Ner Tamid's shining on me like a rhinestone cancer, riding out in a tallis and a star-spangled yarmulke, like a rhinestone cancer, getting lox and bagels from people I don't even know, and some complaints over the phone. One more time, like a rhinestone cancer. Let's hear you. Riding out in a tallis and a star-spangled yarmulke, like a rhinestone cancer, getting the lox and bagels from people I don't even know, and some complaints over the phone. Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Mecca. On this special Sabbath, we celebrate all Jewish pioneers and cowboys of the Wild West. Tonight, we tell the story of the first Jewish town on the frontier.
You're visiting us, we don't really talk like that. It's a terrible tale. With bears instead of malaria carrying mosquitoes and shady guns slinging entrepreneurs instead of Baron Rothschild. Before the Halutzim, the first pioneers, who settled in the Holy Land of Israel in the 20th century, a Hebrew homeland was found in a small western town here in America in the 19th century.
And this evening, we celebrate it as well as the sounds of Sabbath that Cantor Goldberg has set to country songs. So sit back and enjoy and sing along with us. We begin with one of the greatest love songs ever written.
Lyrics by David HaMelech, that's King David. Melody by The King, that's Elvis.
Yai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Do, di, li. Ani, lo. Aro, basho, shani. Let's try that together. Do, di, li. Do, di, li. Bani, lo. Haro, haro, basho, shani. Izotola min hamidbar mekuterer mor ulebona do dili Hanilo Haro Basho Shanim Libatini Achoti Kala Uritzafon Uvoi Teiman One more time, all together. Do di li Bani lo Haro Basho Shani Haro Basho
So when gold was discovered in California back in 1848, folks from around the world poured into the state. Loeb Strauss, a German Jewish immigrant, left his family's fledgling clothing business in New York to travel to San Francisco in 1853 to sell supplies to miners. Loeb, who eventually changed his name to Levi, established a dry goods store selling everything miners needed, including clothes, tents, and tools. In 1872, one of Strauss's customers, a Reno, Nevada tailor named Jacob Davis, wrote to him describing a unique method of reinforcing trousers with metal rivets. The two men applied for a patent together and started manufacturing rugged cotton trousers, reinforced with copper rivets at stress points.
Shikekianu, the first blue jeans were born.
I can't do it. We celebrate lots of firsts here at Micah. Tomorrow will be the first time that Grant Alpert will read from the Torah. So we're going to go ahead and give him a warm howdy welcome and invite Grant and his family to come up here, Scott and Shannon, and please join us to light our candles.
Are you going to keep that accent up all night, Rabbi Lori?
I'm going to try.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehalik ner shel Shabbat.
We're going to continue welcoming Shabbat with some Lecha Dodi.
One, two, 3, 4. Dolly is our Sabbath bride tonight. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmianu elam yuchad Adonai echad Shemo echad Hashem ol tiferet b'lim chila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Lecha Dodi likrat kala Lecha Dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Let's hear it. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu b'nelcha ki hi mekor haberacha merosh mekedem nefsucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshavas tchila Lecha Dodi likrat kala Lecha Dodi likrat kala Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Teretz bala kam b'simecha v'tzola tov emunei ha'omes hegula boi chala boi chala Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. 1, 2, 3. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. B'nai Kabbalah. B'nai Shabbat B'nai Kabbalah.
Yitgedol v'yitgeda shamei rabba.
Amen.
V'yogma divra kirute, v'yomlich machute, v'chayechom uv'yomechon, uv'hayedecho be'Yisrael. Bagala uv'izman kariv, v'imiru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yithale, v'yithala, shemei dekudasha b'richu, le'olmen kul birchata, v'shirata, tushvechata, v'nechemata, dami rabbana, v'imiru.
Amen. 1, 2, 3. Now it's time to praise. Glorify God's name. It's time for us all to rise. Blessed is Adonai. Baruch et Adonai. Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai. Hamevorach. Leolam va'ed. Let our souls lie bare. This is our call to prayer. Like a heavenly choir, our voices rise higher and higher. Baruch et Adonai. Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai. Hamevorach. Leolam va'ed. Baruch et Adonai. Hamevorach. Hamevorach. Leolam va'ed. Leolam va'ed. Hamevorach. Leolam va'ed. Leolam va'ed.
Please take your seats.
Look out there in the distance and see the snowy peaks of the mountains jutting out over the horizon. Well, the further we get from these settled plains, the more the scenery will change, grow mountainous, wooded.
Biblical.
Actually, the way becomes increasingly narrow, tortuous. Our path runs parallel to the Arkansas River that flows beside it. It is impossible to miss the thundering sounds of the rapids rolling eastward down into the valley. Our destination? The town of Cotopaxi.
Population just 47 souls, according to the last census. And Jews, not a minion anywhere for miles.
We went looking for the story of our people, the 63 Jews who a century and a half ago established a Jewish settlement.
Yeah, that's separate from the settlers we know about in Israel nowadays.
No, this group, with supreme sacrifice and genuine effort, made their way from destitute, frightened European refugees to become proud American farmers who could live off the land. And over the course of 2 brave years, they managed to create a facade of the Jewish cowboy, standing tall, courageous, like a modern Israeli.
Until their strength could hold on no longer. Even today, the locals will tell you, the Jews built this place. We owe them quite a bit. Okay, maybe not that much, but we owe them. We owe them, that's for sure. But the trouble is, the only remnant you're gonna find of them today is in their cemetery. You can find it if you cross over the river and the abandoned train tracks and you pass the post office and you keep going for a mile and a half or so on the other side of the woods.
So off we went together as one, like the Shema teaches. You know, Zvika Pick wrote this version of the Shema, and it's a popular one here at Micah. Now, he passed away this week, so it's appropriate we're heading into our cemetery. Known as the Maestro, he was an Israeli pop singer, a songwriter, and a television personality.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו כדברים כאלך אשר אנוכי מצווך כיום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך ביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו דתותפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי לריקם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיהם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
In the early hours of May 9th, 1882, the sound of the train's horn traveled through Cotopaxi. The Iron Beast rolled slowly into the station. It took a few minutes, even after the screeching sound of the brakes died down, for the tranquility and peace to settle upon the valley once again. The few residents of the town gathered on the wooden platform to see the oddity that might step out of the shiny cars at any moment.
And there they were. Off the train stepped 50 people who had come there to stay. It was at that moment that the all too short story of the Jewish Wild West began. In hindsight, the first few minutes on that platform were an eerie foreshadowing of the bitter ends to the story.
The locals, rugged miners and cowboys, were terribly disappointed when they saw the bizarre foreigners that had arrived. They did not speak English, and they certainly did not seem to be strong farmers.
Could they possibly invigorate the cold, rocky soil? Political correctness did not yet exist in America, and the travel-tired Jewish newcomers who had spent 5 days on a train from New York were received with cold stares, frigid contempt. Of course, in comparison, with where they'd come from, angry stares were nearly as good as a welcome parade. 1 year earlier, in March of 1881, Tsar Alexander II of Russia had been assassinated, setting off violent riots against the Jews, especially in the southwest region of the country around what today is known as Ukraine. Well, at least for today.
Now, many of the Jews did not have to wait for the riots to reach their doorstep to understand that their relationship with Mother Russia was over. And the once slow emigration from the region became a race to escape. In the coming years, until World War I broke out, 2.5 million Jews would leave Russia. A great, great exodus. Of them, 2 million came to the United States in search of a new life. They landed on the East Coast, where most of them would remain.
Until they moved to Florida.
Now, Manhattan's Lower East Side was teeming with Russian Jews, and it was there in New York City, in the state cellar of an old building, that a young, idealistic Jewish man by the name of Michael Halperin would try to fulfill his vision. He believed that the Jewish people had an inherent connection to the soil, that the Jewish newcomers must disperse throughout the country. And over the years, he was a lone voice in the wilderness. The Russian Jews continued to hold tight to New York, refusing to budge. But Halperin had all but given up, until one night, a man named Jacob Milstein knocked on his door, setting up a plot for the Western Exodus. It was time to get on the road again.
On the road again. Those Israelites are on the road again. Escaped from Egypt, headed to the promised land. Those Israelites are on the road again. On the road again. When Moses took his mighty staff in hand, the water parted and the Jews walked on dry land. Those Israelites are on the road again. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar makodesh lo rasihilot oseh pele. On the road again. When Moses took his mighty staff in hand, the water parted and the Jews walked on dry land. Those Israelites are on the road again. Kamocham, Nedar Bakodes Nora Tehilot, Osefele, on the road again. Those Israelites are on the road again. For 40 years or so, their shoes were full of sand. Those Israelites are on the road again. Oh, those Israelites are on the road again. Those Israelites are on the road again.
Now, back to Jacob Milstein. Jacob Milstein was the nephew of Saul Baer Milstein. He was a wealthy Jewish businessman in Russia. And because of his experience rubbing elbows with the Russian government, Milstein, the uncle, quickly recognized that the Jewish future in Russia was not particularly promising. Even before the pogroms began, Saul Baer Milstein understood that to protect his extended family
And his extended wealth.
regardless, he realized he'd have to find a new place to settle his clan. As early as 1878, Saul sent his nephew Jacob to America to search the land and find out if the rumors were true. Was America really a land of plenty, free of anti-Semitism, rich with business opportunities? The young nephew made a grave error. Back in Russia, Jacob and Saul Baer's eldest daughter, Nettie, they were secret lovers. Now an ocean away from his sweetheart, Jacob yearned for her. So he convinced her to leave her father's house, sail to America, and live with him. Saul Baer was furious. He failed to convince his daughter to return.
He got his revenge. Cut off his nephew's monthly allowance.
And Jacob had no choice but to enter hard labor. We leave hard labor behind as we sing Vishamru, Zac Brown Band style.
You know I like the Kiddush wine, lighting candles on a Friday night, fresh challah that tastes just right, get to services on time. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam. You know I like the Kiddush wine, lighting candles on a Friday night, fresh challah that tastes just right, get to services on time. Soon as I saw the sunrise, knew I could put the week behind me. Felt like it was almost time to say Shabbat Shalom. Well, it's funny how the little things in life that mean the most, not where you live or what you drive or the price tag on your clothes. There's no dollar sign on the peace of mind that I've come to know. So if you agree, have a drink with me, raise your glasses for a toast. You know I like the Kiddush wine, lighting candles on a Friday night, fresh challah that tastes just right, get to services on time. Soon as I saw the sunrise, knew I could put the week behind me. Felt like it was almost time to say Shabbat Shalom. Yamim Asa Adonai את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, like my kiddish wine, like candles on a Friday night, like candles that taste just right. Get the services on time. Soon as I saw the sunrise, soon as the speak behind me, almost time is to say Shabbat Shalom. Yeehaw.
All right, so we're having such a good time. This is really the highlight of our week, but we hope you've had highlights of your week as well. And you don't have to say it in a country western accent, but we'd like to invite you to share all the good simchas of your week with us. The good things. Does anybody have something happy to share?
What you got, Alex?
Oh, we're going Alex? Okay, sorry. You did
Say-
well on a math test?
You're
You
great
already-
at math.
All right.
For those folks watching on the internet, he did well in math. What else
Alex,
we
you
got?
already had a math test? All right, getting right to it, aren't you? Yes, sir. All right, we're celebrating Grant's bar mitzvah.
Yeah, grass bar mitzvah. All right.
All right. We're all happy to be doing that. We're all happy to be doing that. Other good things. Yes, Ron.
As of this week, there is a Jewish high school in Nashville.
There is the Kehila High School, the Jewish high school in Nashville. We are very excited about that. Thank you, Ron.
Lewis.
Aw.
Family reunited. Daughter visiting from Florida.
Welcome, welcome.
What do we got?
Karen.
I bought my house in Nashville this morning.
All
I love that you
Bought a
told us
house in
that in a
Nashville.
country western accent.
Avi had some.
Thank you. We got a new chicken for $1.40. Wow. I don't even know what that means.
They're into poultry for those watching at home. All right, was there someone else? I saw someone else. What do you got? So not only celebrating Grant's becoming an adult in the eyes of the Jewish community, but anyone who is a grandparent and has grandchildren, let's give them a round of applause, please.
Very nice.
We celebrate those generations.
And I'm very glad that you're enjoying the music.
Hey, how about we give it up for the band one time?
Yes.
Thank you. Band. Amazing.
All right. I believe we have God's attention. Here's what we're going to do. Grant is going to open us up by just singing the first line of our central prayer, the Tefillah. If you have a book, the words are on page 46 and following. And if not, then I'm going to go ahead and flip through the slides. We're going to take a little silence. And once you've had your moment, you go ahead and be seated. When most of us are sitting, we'll come together and sing again.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Song of Peace brought to you by the Eagles. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Lechol HaShalom V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael v'chol leil v'chol shah v'shlomecha Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Lechol HaShalom V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol leil v'chol shah b'shlomecha Shalom Rav Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol
Yeah. I do believe that our music is getting God's attention this evening. It is always our custom in the context of our service to think about those people in our community and those people who are in other communities that you may know of who are in need of a blessing for healing. And so our community continues to think of Charlie Strobel and Kimberly Simmons and Joshua Simmons and John Horton, Manette Chance, Susan Hiller, Mike Robinson, Roy Hiller, Stephen Feldman, Steve Packmar, B.J. Rogers, Steve Goldberg, Penny Enton, and Roberta Blatt. If there's other names, people that you would like me to mention aloud, or you would just like to say aloud, I invite you to do so at this time. think of all people who are in need of a blessing for healing, and we invite you to sing along with us.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say
Now, when Jacob Milstein arrived at Halpern's office, he was desperately looking for a way to smooth things over with his father-in-law.
Yeah, I bet he was.
And it was around the same time that Halpern began to receive correspondence from a man named Emmanuel Shaltiel. Shaltiel had purchased the mines adjacent to Cotopaxi, and along with the roughly 2,000 acres that surrounded it,
Shaltiel had an idea. He would bring in fresh labor, the cheapest he could find, the hands of his very own people, fresh off the boat from Eastern Europe.
And in his letters to Halpern, Shaltiel could not have spoken more favorably about the wonders of Cotopaxi. The fertile soil, the fresh air, and the great, great employment opportunities. To sweeten the deal, he even promised any newcomer to the town everything they might need for the first few years. They could use the land to grow crops or raise livestock. All they had to do was come. And it was just one day after their feet hit the boulder-laden soil of the Rockies that the Jews of Cotopaxi began to comprehend just what they had fallen into. The land was not sustainable for growing anything. It was too steep and too rocky.
They were in the Rocky Mountains, for God's sake.
Of the 22 homes that Shaltiel had promised the new settlers, just 12 were standing. And they lacked the most basic amenities. Despite it all, at that point in time, the pioneers still managed to be optimistic, making a real effort to lay down roots. They leased better pieces of land from the residents where they could sow corn and potatoes. The arrival of 13 more Jews, among them a butcher and a Hebrew teacher, lifted the spirits of the community's members. And on Friday, June 23rd, 1882, a procession was held for the first Cotopaxi Torah scroll. That Torah was the first and most important thing the community had requested from Halpern's office in New York City. And the excitement that came with its arrival was palpable. They decided to sacrifice one of the houses and convert it instead to be a synagogue. The Torah portion, Hukat, was the first one ever read in Cotopaxi.
Likely the first one ever read in America's Wild West.
Do this, Rabbi. I'm not capable.
I'll turn the pages.
The next few months before the harsh western winter set in were the golden age of Cotopaxi. 2 weddings were held at the synagogue, and despite the many difficulties that they faced, it seemed that the settlers were adapting to their new home. By no small measure thanks to their neighbors, themselves farmers with German roots.
Yeah, they managed to communicate with them in Yiddish, trading with them to get necessary supplies. It wasn't idyllic, but it was harmonious for a stint.
The fall of 1882 brought crisis. The corn that had been planted 4 months earlier withered, and the potatoes were destroyed by a southern frost. HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, helped cover the settlers' expenses, and then as winter settled in, 3 babies in the community died. The rabbi's toddler son was one of them. He was buried in a small, flat plot just north of town.
During that same winter, the Jewish settlers, they were forced to deal with an array of challenges. Poor souls traded the bitter cold of Russia for that of the Rockies. And this is well before there were ski lifts. The town was raided by Indians. I mean, what would you expect? Records indicate that they had more than one unfortunate encounter with a hungry bear.
Despite their hardships, they stuck together and they prayed for spring, and with it, the very first Passover. The atmosphere was festive, and despite the hardships, optimism once again swept into Cotopaxi.
Yeah, until another frost came through, killing their second harvest. And at that point, the Jews of Cotopaxi understood that while they may have been brought there under the pretense that they would make their living as farmers, they were actually there to serve as cheap labor in the mines. The fields were abandoned one after another, and their owners went to work outside the town's limits. Most of the Jewish settlers left the town even before the winter's end.
6 particularly brave families remained for one more season, trying in vain to dig deep in the frozen ground and to hold on to the dream of being Jewish American cowboys. In June of 1884, after the 3rd year of a failed harvest, Cotopaxi was abandoned by all its remaining Jews. Most of the original settlers remained in the western United States. Some joined the Jewish community out there in Denver, and others continued on further.
Jacob Milstein made amends with his father-in-law, and together they built a huge cattle farm next to Boulder, Colorado, where the family lived for decades.
On all this is to say that we feel blessed to be here with you in Music City, where our Micah Jewish community is flourishing right alongside country music.
And that's partly because of Aleinu, partly because it's our responsibility. It's on us. So we're going to do that next. We invite you to please rock.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Today, the entrance to the cemetery of Cotopaxi does not reflect all that it contains. A large cross adorns the gate, and amongst the grass and the lonely trees are scattered roughly a dozen cross-laden graves. But at the edge of the cemetery, in a small fenced-in area, there's a little distinct 7-armed lamp and a sign that tells the story of the Jews of Cotopaxi. Chiseled gray stones, below which is the shared grave of the 3 children who died in the harsh winter of 1882. Our community recalls those very brave souls along with others. If you are here mourning the loss of a loved one, we share their names at this time. And when we are done reading and taking names, we'll invite you to share your own, and we'll recite the words of Mourner's Kaddish together. We think of Ada Dubin, Anna Krautimer, Cornelia Geschweiler, Dr. Edward Stein, Dr. Paul Ramsey Michael, Gilbert Lawrence Gibbon Sr., Harry Zeitlin, Henry Zalman, Herman Streisand, Catherine L. Zander, Katie Beletsky, Mary E. Surface, Edward Claremont, Simon Riss, Nathan Tarr, Rachel Wallach, Ruth M. Bookstein, Sam Pink, Sandra Solon, Suzanne Weinstein, Sylvia Wolf. We continue mourning for William Bill Drongowski, George Hahn, Jerry Eli, T.J. Cohen, Arnold Hyatt, Stephen Allen Cooper, Norman Edward Heyman, Toby Lee Spiegel, Artis Felix, Kathleen Guccione, Kent Nolan, Laura Cass Hockman, Susan Ruckman, B.B. Weinstein, Marvin Oakes, Walter P. Stern, Evelyn Ruth Richmond, Lucille Foley, Stephen Joel Dubin, Stanley Felix, Roland Terry Hill, Martin Rabin, and Frank Parker. Please share the names of those you are thinking of at this time. We join together in the words of Mourner's Kaddish.
Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah,
Be'alma divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'yomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birkata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, daniran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We ask, as always, that the source of peace and peace to all people who are mourning, comfort to all people who are bereaved. We say one final time together. Amen.
Amen.
You all may be seated briefly. Micah member and midday goddess at WSIX FM. Micah member Amy Friedman is going to come up and give our announcements.
Also known as Amy Page, right? Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I tell you what, we got a good signal in here. This is great frequency. Nice to see y'all. Okay, some announcements. So let me see. Here we go. Torah study tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Want to say special thanks to the Alpert family for sponsoring tonight's wind down. Grant's bar mitzvah, Brit mitzvah is tomorrow morning at 10:30. And Mazel Tov, Grant, where are you? Hey, shout out Grant. Mahjong on Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Shmooze and Views will meet on Thursday at 10:30 in the morning. Cantor Josh will be offering a 3-week psalm writing course for all ages throughout Elul. Did I say that right? Okay, good. First time.
Psalm writing.
First time, thank you. I called Shania Twain Shania Twain the first time I announced her on the radio, so I'm happy I got that right. The course will meet August 30th, September 6th, and September 13th. No previous skills required. Just bring your imagination and an open mind. No charge for members. $36 for non-members. Sign up using the link in our e-blast. We're cleaning out the Micah Library, and we'll be selling the library books. You're so enthusiastic. I love you so much. Favorite listener ever. Thank you.
She's read them all already.
That's great. So throughout the week of August 28th, we're going to be raising funds for our religious school scholarship. So we're going to have more details in the coming week, but please note that we will not be accepting donations of books for the sale, just so you know.
Don't bring us your books.
No.
We just want to sell your books.
Yes, exactly, and tell your friends. Okay, so we're headed to Geodis. Micah is going to the Nashville Soccer Club. We're going to go see one of the games. So we've got 20 tickets for Wednesday, August 31st.
Got about 6 tickets left.
Oh, really? Get them while they're hot, people. Gola. So the date is Wednesday, August 31st.
And it's Jay's birthday that day.
And it's Jay's birthday.
We're all going.
Woo! And the game will be at 7 o'clock. Tickets are $50 each. All are welcome to cheer on the home team with us. Oh, okay, that's great. Look, it's lining up nicely. I love when a plan comes together.
This is the best it's ever gone. Keep going.
Okay, I could talk forever, seriously. That's why they don't let me just talk. They have to play music. They're like, okay, that's enough. The next Micah Reads Book Club will be Monday, September 19th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Ron and Lynn Hetty, where are they? There we go. They'll be leading the discussion on Children Under Fire, An American Crisis by John Woodrow Cox. Is it? Micah families will be going back to Israel next June. We've done the Israel trip. It's awesome. If you're interested or have questions about the trip, email Rabbi Lori, or you can ask myself and my husband David, since we did a trip and it was amazing. Religious school registration is now open. Access the Start School Enrollment tab in your SchulCloud account to enroll your K through 12th graders. Like us on social media at Micah Nashville. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. More details about these programs and other offerings, including Zoom links, can be found in our weekly email blast. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
All right, Amy Page.
Shabbat Shalom. Amy Page, everyone.
We're going to invite Grant to come on forward, and we're going to do a little kiddish, but first we got a closing song.
Right. I just want to give a big shout out to our congregant, Jerry Kimbrough, who is on the beach right now in Florida, so you can wave to him on the camera. But I just want to thank him for introducing me to these incredible musicians you see on stage tonight. So give it up for Jerry, and give it up for this incredible band. We got a lot of Joshes here tonight. We got Josh on the drums and Josh on the pedal steel. We got Eli on the violin. We got Jim on the bass, and our own Jared Hauser on the oboe, and our own Ron Fair on the piano. So thank you guys so much for making this such a special evening.
Rabbi Flip was one of the backup singers.
Yes. And we're going to take it home down the country road. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. I don't know life, I share my life, the terror and cold, it's in it bright and the sun, the air so cold, as I melech, Shemoni Kram, Ve'acharei kichlotako, levado yimloch noram, ve'hu haya, ve'hu hoveh, ve'hu yeh v'tifara. I don't know life, I share my life, the terror and cold, it's in in the sun, the earth so cold, as I melech, Shemoni Karav, ve'hu echad, ve'ein sheni, lehamshir lo, lehachbiram, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz ve'hamizrach. I don't know life, I share my life, the terror and cold, yes, in Ibrahim, the sun, the earth so cold, outside Melech, Shemoni Karav, rich. Be'ado ha'kiruchi, be'eti shan de'anira, be'iruchi geviati, Adonai li, ve'lo ira. Take it away, boys.
that glass high, we end with a Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim.
L'chaim. Shabbat shalom.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Shabbat shalom, everyone.